Okay, good morning everyone in this crazy world. For me, it's actually good evening. My name is Yvonne Overmaat. I've been with the Lappset group for over 10 years now. Lappset's headquarters is actually based out of Finland, but I am based out of the Netherlands. And so it's currently 6 p.m. here. We switched to winter time last Saturday, which apparently is a week prior to you guys doing it. I'm looking forward actually to having this presentation and this webinar with you today. It's only a relatively small group of people, so I would actually encourage you to, if you have any questions, please ask and interrupt me so that we can have a dialogue going. I think most of you will be behind your PCs. We have a lot of pictures to share, but before going into that, I would like to give you a small update on Lappset, and I'll stop my video so that you're not distracted by any sort of weird movements that I'm making. And we have Keith Davis on the call as well.
Hi everyone.
MSG.
Hello.
So Keith, Marta, and I will be adding things as we go. Lappset has been a company that has existed for quite a while already. In the American market, you might have heard about Compan as one of the largest European players. I would say Lappset is in the top 3 of the biggest European playground manufacturers, and they were established over 50 years ago. It's a family-owned company with its headquarters in Rovaniemi, Finnish Lapland. And for those of you who have never been there, that's actually north of the Arctic Circle. The company was founded by the gentleman on the right, which is Mr. Antero Ikahemo. And on the left, you can probably tell who that is. That is his daughter, Johanna. And today the company is run by the 2nd generation of the Ikahemo family. And the girl on the left is now actually the chairperson of the board of directors. It is one of the larger industry players globally. Lappset Group did about $83 million of turnover last year. They have a team of about 400 employees, and we have offices and factories in several companies, one of them being the Netherlands or Holland, where I'm based out of. But more importantly, let's focus on what Lappset does, because it's important to have an innovative answer to the demanding high-end destination parks that we increasingly see globally. I think in Oregon, you have many of examples of parks that look exactly like this. And the world is changing rapidly. And the question is, does the play industry also innovate enough? Well, in my opinion, we don't. I think the play industry is a little conservative, but we at least are trying to move in a more innovative direction. Lappset invests heavily in innovation, and in the 10 years that I've been working with Lappset, they came out with many, many new product lines. And Lappset, by the way, is the Finnish word for children. One current example is the Cubic line, available in lots of configurations. And it's a real modern looking, distinguishing line that your higher end architects will probably like, with towers reaching over 26 foot. And it offers great innovative answers to all the modern looking architecture that you see nowadays. So here you see an example, a sneak preview of, if you will, of all the current possibilities.
So Yvonne, what materials are we able to utilize? Is everything, can we, if we're in an area we want to have it all be a steel structure, wood structure?
Well, Lappset is known for its material, its wooden material. They're based out of Lappset, and so they use a lot of the Finnish pine available there. Very slow growing wood, and therefore high quality wood. But of course, wood's not the only thing they do. So they combine that with different elements, netting, stainless steel elements, stainless steel slides, but also HPL and acrylic wall panels. Mm-hmm. But wood is the product or the material that they're really known for and really good at.
Cool, thank you.
So it's very high quality Scandinavian design, but of course we also tailor towards different markets globally.
Well, I have another question. Is it okay, when I was doing a presentation with San Francisco, they asked about having lighting inside the cubics, like that was just pictured. Is that a possibility?
Yes, they could do that. This is actually a product where they integrated lighting before, which is a different range than cubic, but they've done things like that in the past, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So there is a section of the very extensive portfolio that they have that is now made compliant with the ASTM standards. So we're not able to sell all of the Lappset products, but only the products that are compliant with ASTM. Over time, more products will be added, but let me first give you an overview of the solutions that are currently already available for the US market. First line I would like to discuss with you is Halo. This line was launched about 1.5 to 2 years ago. It is inspired by every child's dream to build a treehouse. The first cubic was actually installed in Chengdu, China in May 2018 with a very high profile ceremony. And the city of Rovaniemi, where Lappset is actually based out of, donated the cubic to the city of Chengdu as a token of friendship. It's a modular system, and one of the products that I like very much in this line are the so-called diamonds. And the diamonds are featured on this page. And we had one just installed right in front of our office in the Netherlands. To the right, you see the son and daughter of one of our sales reps. And why I like the diamonds so much is because when you're in it, everything is diagonal. So your equilibrium is really challenged because everything is diagonal. You should know that one of these diamonds is about 15 feet high, so it's a pretty big structure. It's really something that you can make a statement with. We also have games now where we actually combine it also with our interactives. You see on this picture a plastic slide. Of course, if you would prefer this to be changed out with a stainless steel slide, you can do that also.
Yvonne, inside the diamond, are there any flat areas?
No, there's no flat areas inside the diamonds, which that is what makes it appealing. And inside the structures, there's several attributes that add to play values. We also have a version with 2 diamonds. This is a picture of a trade show in Cologne in October last year when we were still able to do trade shows. And we had Brian Gates from MRC actually try this out himself. And because everything is diagonal, it challenges you, and your ability to balance and navigate is really being tested. So it's actually a lot more fun than you would expect. Here you see a picture of what the inside, part of the inside looks like. So there's a lot of balls and climbing elements, see-through walls, and different entrances as well as different ways of going out.
So the
climbing ropes,
Yvonne, those are acrylic?
Yeah, I'll get to that later. The side panels and the ones where you actually stand on are different. The climbing ropes are steel reinforced podiumite ropes, and they're a little over a ½ inch thick. And this is a project of a recent project that the YALP team did. This is actually a campground of one of the islands in front of our coast. And the diamonds actually comes in parts. So usually we have it prefabbed, or you can also, of course, choose to do it on site. And once we have a cubic, it is then lowered into position with a crane. But of course, we don't only have diamonds. This is where it gets a little bit more exciting even, the so-called cubics. The product line, as I said before, can get over 26 feet high. So when you're sitting in there, you really get a great view of the surrounding area. There is a ton of different configurations possible by stacking them both vertically and also horizontally. And the colored walls are made of HPL, highly pressured laminate, and they're also available in multiple colors if blue is not your color. So it's a very modern looking activity tower. And then it has various different climbing nets and connection tubes. And one of these pieces was actually also recently installed in near San Francisco. You'll see different elements in there, like a bird nest swing. And of course, for safety reasons, this swing on the lower part is also connected with a chain to the surface. So you can only swing to a certain extent. You see that the floors are see-through polycarbonate elements. And then the acrylic is used for the walls, as it is a little bit shinier. And so yes, Keith, to come back to your questions, the side panels are made from acrylic, but then the floors are polycarbonate.
Okay.
And on some of these floors, you can actually stand and you can actually look 26 or a little less, but over 20 feet down, which of course adds to the play value also.
Hey, Yvonne, can you talk about any maintenance that needs to be done on the cubics themselves, on the flooring, or on the acrylic, or on the wood?
After it's being installed, you don't have to do any maintenance on the acrylic or polycarbonate elements.
Okay.
And you shouldn't on the wood either. Although wood is impregnated. And here you see examples of the stainless steel slides. But of course, we can also do it with the plastic, which is typically a little bit more economical. You can go up to 3 stories high. So great play value when you have spaces where you have only limited floor space available, like in a city center.
Yvonne, can I interrupt real quick? Can you address how this meets ASTM standards with the flat top on it?
Well, there is
Go ahead, Yvonne, but I actually have that answer that Lappset sent to me in writing, which I think I could forward on to you, which I think would be, something to have.
To other participants, you mean?
Yeah, yep. Because everything that we're going to do in the United States will meet the ASTM and the ADA.
And then somebody had a question about where in San Francisco is the installation of the cubics. Do you know?
Oh, I'll have to get the exact address, but I think it's near a school because it was done by a school district.
Okay. And I can probably get that too. I'll get that for Melissa, who's asking.
So here you see a picture of some of the insides of the cubic. So very different look than your traditional play equipment.
Yeah.
So from 9 to 26 feet by looking at the cubes. And then of course you can do it in all kinds of different orders. We only have 2 options for the metal corners. So you either do the blue or you do dark gray, but for the HPL wall panels, there is 8 different colors available. These are pictures actually from the Dutch team. This is the first cubic project that we did in Belgium on the right. So are there any specific questions on the cubic itself before I switch to the natural play line, which is called Flora?
Yvonne, so can we pick where the acrylic windows in the tube would be?
Yeah, there's some flexibility there, absolutely. Because we've also spoken to cities that wanted items to be more transparent. Mm-hmm. Also, if you are, for example, thinking about potential homeless people getting in there, where they didn't want any closed walls, but they wanted everything transparent.
Cool. And is there an option if we wanted to do the sides all metal, like on the left-hand side here, and have no wood, or is that not an option?
I'm not sure. I would have to check, Keith, but I'm pretty sure that you can be as flexible as you want. Typically, the wood, as you see with the vertical lines, are still pretty transparent. But if you don't want wood for durability reasons or whatever your decision might be, yeah, you could do it with the steel structures too.
Okay, thank you.
So in Europe, nature play became the biggest trend in the play industry roughly about 7 to 8 years ago. And our customers thought that the traditional post and deck structures that Lappset offered looked too straightforward and too manufactured in comparison to all the Robinia products that entered the market back in Europe. And this is Lappset's answer to a more organic looking line. And I think the best KPI for this product is that it looks more organic. So you have the rooftop leaves and the curved shapes, but it's still a modular system, which means you don't have any finger cracks, or if there's a part that you need to replace, you don't have to have things certified on site. We always have a piece that fits because it's a modular system. This increasingly became the best, the most sold system in the Netherlands, just because it looks so good in a lot of the natural landscapes that people are designing nowadays. So this is what it looked like in the design phase, where we really want structures that would be blending in with forests and would represent nature. So asymmetrical forms, different organic lines. So here you see a picture of one that we've done. And it's cost efficient and safe. So these are glue laminated timber parts, and those are pressure and surface treated. So you don't have any cracking of the timber occurring. So very long lasting and durable. All foundations, as you might have seen in the picture already, are made of metal. So there's no direct contact between the wooden posts and the floor to prevent it from rotting. And it also, of course, extends to the product life. There's standard parts readily available and also easy to install. So you don't have long maintenance breaks, as the installation work and repairs do not require any special carpenter skills like some of the custom Robinia playgrounds might require.
And really, there's no maintenance to the wood, whatsoever. It's basically, following up like a regular playground to make sure everything, there's no vandalism, and keeping on top of that, correct?
Well, I can never promise that there's never any vandalism, but yeah, you don't have to treat the wood, no. So this is our local swimming pool. This is where my daughters go for their swimming lessons. It was one of the first larger Flora projects that we did in the Netherlands, installed in early 2015. More adventure track options if you want to do like an informal play lint or attaching two larger structures to each other in your design. This is another installation done by our team. And of course, there's also several smaller solitaires available also. Like here you see a little treehouse. So there's a couple items for the younger kids with more imaginative play as well.
And customizable if need be too? Yeah,
Lappset is pretty flexible. So if you see a piece of equipment where you want a different roof, or you want the slide or a fire pole on the other side, then they are very flexible to work with. They've actually implemented a couple changes to make the product portfolio that they currently have compliant with the ASTM, such as smaller entries, different heights, adding transfer stations, and so on.
Nice.
They're also working on a little bit of larger constructions. So some of these are still being designed as we go, but they're looking at larger themed pirate ships, castles, and so on.
Oh, so the last one was a castle, and this one is a ship?
Yes. So besides Halo and Flora, Lappset has a whole other range of products that we'll have to save for another time, but at least I wanted to give you a couple visuals also. So this is one of the bigger structures that they've been working on, which I think would look really amazing in a destinational playground.
I agree.
And then besides the more traditional play, Lappset also has a lot more to offer. So this is a picture of one of the parkour free running lines that they also are able to offer for more urban environments to really get the teens moving. So this was actually designed with professional free runners for the more urban environment. Of course, they are doing it in several layouts, several designs. So these are just examples to get inspiration of how these parks would function best. And then besides this one that is more targeted towards the teens, they also have a free run line that is more geared towards the younger children, like the under 12. And it looks a lot more like their traditional steel product equipment. It's called clocks. And this one we've actually installed a lot in schools all over Europe. And the parkour line here is actually used also for the PA classes. So not only during recess, but also for physical activity.
So age group wise, we could be, within the 5 to 12 age group, no problem.
Yeah, for clocks, definitely. When with Dash, it can even be adults and 12-year-olds and up. So outdoor fitness, gym equipment, calisthenics, that's also in the Lappset product offering. So here you see an example of one of their boot camps layouts, where they also have different designs that are offered as an inspiration, but you can also mix and match as you go. There's a large variety of equipment available, also to do street workouts like this.
I just had a question come in asking if Dash and clocks are available in the US.
Yeah, they're currently looking at the sport line for the ASTM. But yeah, I think Spec already sold a parkour setup to New York pretty recently. So they will definitely be adding parkour products to the US portfolio also. And they also offer gym equipment, I guess maybe a little bit similar to your Game Time Thrive units, but a different look and feel. And we've even done sites in the Netherlands where we've been installing it on movable solutions. So they could actually be moved to a different side of the city without doing any groundwork. And what interests me also within the Lappset product portfolio is that they even have offerings for what we refer to as senior play, so the 80-plus-year-olds and up. So they have a lot of equipment that is specifically geared towards this age group, and a lot involving with balance, but also the smaller motorical movements, like fingers, and that's what you see the lady doing with the blue jacket on the right.
Ah.
So this has everything to do with stimulating day-to-day movements, and has been very popular in Europe. And of course, aimed to unite all generations. Then all the Lappset products, of course, have custom options available, like you referred to before, Keith. And this is really the best part. Here you can see an example of the modularity. So if we take the piece of equipment in the middle, which is the standard, you could see that we can do a lot of alterations within the modular system based out of that specific product. So if you've seen something that caught your eye, but you really want it slightly different, let us know. Because here they are, for example, doing a customized version that would be more suited for an inclusive playground. And here you see examples of how you could really take it to the next step with all the cubic configurations that you are able to do. We've also done a lot of hill playgrounds where we've incorporated the natural line for hill play. I personally like this custom floor location, and this particular customer wanted an adventure trail on a hill. But this is more the custom options for what I refer to as the more traditional play. Lappset can take customization to the next level with a product that they call Premium. And this is recently launched by Lappset. It is not a cookie cut catalog solution whatsoever. And these premium solutions are always done in close cooperation with the customer. So we look at the customer's demand and we'll go from there. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Bungip. You guys have, Bigfoot. Yes. And the legend of Bigfoot in Australia, they have something called the Bungip. who was living in creeks and riverbeds. And it's a mythical creature that, well, I think is pretty terrifying. But one of the Australian customers specifically asked for a playground with a Bunjip theme, with this monster theme. I have no idea why you would want to do that, but that's what they wanted to do. And so this is the story of the Bunjip and how the creature looks. And then this is what Lappset eventually created it into. So really a one-of-the-kind custom solution for the Bunjip playground. Unfortunately, it was never realized because after all, they figured it was a little bit too daunting for playgrounds. But I think when you look at the project brief and the picture that they provided, the design team, I think they did a spectacular job in actually integrating that idea into a playground. And they've done a lot of designs with premium, especially many locations were done in Barcelona, Spain. And so I have a couple examples to show you. This is a render, but I've seen a picture of this location, which is actually recently installed in China. And then here I have a couple of the Barcelona examples to share with you. So here you see an example of a big sort of ostrich-like bird, I guess. This is supposed to be a spider, an underwater world.
So is that a submarine?
Well, no, I don't think it's supposed to be a submarine, but part of it might be the back part.
Yep.
But it was supposed to be a made-up fantasy underwater world. Okay. And this was actually supposed to be a whale. So the resolution on this picture isn't the best, but those small wooden pieces inside of it are all tiny fish. You can see it a little bit better in this slide, and there's a lot of climbing elements and play value here.
So you use the fish to climb up to get to the top of the slide?
Yes, maybe they wanted to go for a whale shark, I don't know. But yeah, the Spanish team is really good in doing some of these customized playgrounds. And one of my personal favorite would definitely be this dinosaur, which I think looks completely awesome and unlike anything that I'd ever seen before. Wow. So it would be a real landmark piece and probably featured in several magazines if you were ever going to do this in Oregon anytime soon.
So how long ago was that installed? Do you know that, Yvonne?
I don't know this particular site, but Lappset Premium was actually designed by Lappset Spain. And after that, it was kind of adopted by the Lappset Group. And I think the managing director of Spain has been doing this for maybe the last 5 years or so, I would say.
Okay.
This is a picture from a Finnish zoo that they actually recently installed. And so a big feature in one of the new parts that the zoo opened near the tiger exhibit, as you can probably tell. And this was done by the wooden equipment. So some of these steel structures would be coming from Spain, and then obviously this would be coming from the manufacturing facility in Finland. So just to tell you a little bit more of the operational things, there is different lead times on all of the products, but I think they have pretty short lead times. Typically, of course, when you're going to ship it to the US, usually it's done by ocean freight, which takes about 5 weeks. So I would say probably anywhere between 7 to 10 weeks is when you're likely what you're likely looking at in terms of lead time. Unless, of course, you go for a large premium custom solution where it's a matter of a couple times back and forth between the design team and the architects or the customer to really get the final product ready, which can take a little bit longer. But once everything is ready, even premium only takes up to 12 weeks, which I think is pretty acceptable. Finland works with wood from certified forests. And actually they grow back more trees than they use every year. So, well, I think this is very Scandinavian in general, but Finland is very big on sustainability. So northern pine is one of the slowest growing types of wood. So the year rings are very close, or the growth rings are very close together. So very, very durable wood.
Yvonne, is all their wood then locally sourced?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and that's also when you would visit the Lappset factory, you'll land in the airport, and then you'll see trees and pine trees and pine trees and pine trees for miles and miles, covered in inches of snow. And if you're lucky, you get to see the Northern Light also.
Yvonne, we
So
had
the
a question
factory-
come in about the premium line. I just wanted to backtrack really quick. Melissa at MIG just was wondering about design costs, especially in reference to bidding projects. Typically, the cost of design isn't included when bidding projects. So is there I guess number one, is there a fee for the design sessions that go on?
Yeah, there's not a fixed fee though, so it depends on how large the product is. So I can forward that information to Keith so he can send it on alongside the ASTM question that we had earlier.
Perfect, thank you.
So this is just to show in terms of sustainability, all the products are produced according to the ISO 14001 standard. Wood is like I said, the most important base material for Lappset. So for customers focusing highly on sustainability, it's interesting to know that producing steel actually takes 500 times the amount of energy compared to producing wood. I've personally been to the Lappset factory several times over the last 10 years, and they even use their scrap wood to heat their factory. They're also part of a recycling association. But of course, besides sustainability, safety is probably an even more important subject, especially in the US. And what is important to know that all the undesired wood characteristics are removed during the production process. But here you see some examples of the testing that they do. All the Lappset products, besides the ones that we're now making compliant with the AST norms, also apply with the European NEN norm 1176. And nothing is sold that is not ASTM compliant. But it's important to know that Lappset testing goes far and beyond the general requirements of even the European norms. So here you see a picture of some of the endurance testing that they do. So these nets have to be suitable for 6 individuals each. But in this test, they actually loaded almost 1,900 pounds on one of the nets, as well as adding additional concrete to the adjacent nets to put extra pressures on the poles also.
So that wasn't a requirement, that was just
done as an extra. Yeah.
Wow. Looks good.
Yeah, they do a lot of over testing, and well, I've only worked with Lappset for 10 years, but I've seen several locations over 20 years old, which typically people, they don't really think about 20 years when it comes to wooden projects or wooden products. And so they really last. They give 10 years warranty on the wood, of course, 20 years on the HPL and the steel. So this is all relatively straightforward. But yeah, it's definitely a product line that has been extremely successful in Europe. And I hope that when customers in the US are looking for a different look, then that these lines could be something that you could think of in the future when designing your locations. Keith, is there anything that you would like to add also? No,
just I think that we have an opportunity of offering a really cool customizable wooden product, along with anything you can imagine with the premium line, which I think is really interesting. So, you know, basically whatever you can dream of play-wise, it looks like we can kind of conquer that together.
Yeah, and there's several examples where we've already done that. Are there any questions or things that we could discuss together?
Martha?
No, I just was waiting to see if anybody was going to ask questions. Look like somebody might be typing something.
Well, Melissa is asking, in the current image, are those rubber hanging seats in the cubics? And that is yes. So Yvonne, over on the right-hand side here, you can see that's like a conveyor belt material, correct? Like a thick rubber?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Which
What was
has
the
a lot of
fall
You've
grip
seen
to
it
it.
on
in one
this?
of the premium pictures as well, where you can probably get a better look. It's kind of like this.
Yep. So that now also has a little bit of texture to it, and is grippy. So if you're sitting in it, it's not something that's gonna, as it tilts, throw you out or push you.
No, they're fixed to the ropes.
Yep.
Back to the cubics. How do you figure the fall height on those?
So
I have that answer too. But go
okay,
ahead.
well, Keith, go on.
No, I have that answer from Lappset in writing because that was a question that San Francisco answered too. So, really, are you talking about inside or outside?
Both.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to determine the surfacing.
Yeah,
Inside.
so the outside is not supposed to be climbable. So they're not
Right.
supposed to be climbing to the roof of the 26-foot structure. Yeah.
And inside, the max fall height, because of the elements inside, was 3 feet.
So limited surface, safety
Very
surface.
limited, yeah, very limited
Needed.
safety surface. In some instances, there was no fall height.
But of course you need some in front of the slides, but very limited.
Yes, which is nice.
So I got the answer on the San Francisco location. It's the Presidio Knowles School and Creo Landscape Architecture was the landscape architect firm on that project. And there's also one at City of San Francisco Parks, it looks like.
Cool, thank you.
Oh, it just goes on and on. Leo sent me a link. There's the Flora at Sonoma Country Day School in California as well, Sonoma County.
Yeah, there's a couple pieces already, but Lappset only entered the North American market about 2 years ago, and they started working only with one relatively small dealer, but so they don't have a lot of sites yet. They've kind of hold off on the American market. They were very busy in Europe, but also in Asia. Pure Land in China is one of their biggest customers, actually. And so, of course, when entering the US market, they needed to do some adjustments to make everything ASTM compliant. And so it's only become a focus for them the last 2 years or so. So that's why they're still pretty unfamiliar in the US market so far.
Have you, Yvonne, heard of any funding using renewable resources or recycled material that Lappset has utilized or their customers have utilized?
Not in the US so far, no.
Okay, but that's probably an option.
Yeah, maybe.
The steel is recycled steel?
No, I don't think the steel in Spain is recycled steel, but I would have to check that.
Okay, thank you.
What are people's first impressions?
Oh, I like them.
Well, you're not objective. I was wondering from some of the attendees what their first thoughts would be.
Love the custom. The parkour is great. That's from Melissa at MIG.
Thank you.
And let's see, Jim says, nice stuff. Seems like the budget planning needs to be higher than typical. That may not be the case. From what we've seen so far, Jim, is the pricing has been very good and very reasonable compared to customization of the major manufacturers that we also work with here in the United States, Game Time and so on. So it's very comparable, and in most cases, less expensive. When we compare, just as an example, we were doing a design 2 weeks ago against another European company, Compan, and our customized piece, which was to match theirs, was almost $150,000 less than the Compan piece.
I see we have two different areas where there's questions coming in, I just noticed. So Simon said probably wouldn't be inclined to order something not made in the US if only because of shipping costs. What are the shipping costs looking like for us?
Well, the shipping costs, of course, depend on what you're going to be shipping, but the experience that I have had so far personally with the interactives is that freight has actually been better than what we first anticipated. Keith?
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
And we actually have a school in the Bay Area, the Campbell School of Innovation, where they decided to air freight 3 large pieces, because they wanted it ready for the first day of school to start in August, where we thought they would never be going for the air freight, and they did, because it wasn't as bad as they thought, I guess. But no, shipping from several states away or internationally, it's not such a big difference as we thought it would be at first.
No, I agree with you. That project that I was just talking about, that included, being $150,000 less, that included freight. And both of us were shipping from overseas.
And then we have a comment from Michelle at Learning Landscapes. I like the materials and forms. I can see the different lines fitting in many spaces. It would be great to see pricing.
Okay, well, Martha, you can definitely send that to everybody.
Okay.
Well, I think if there's no more questions, Keith, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, well, hey, thank you, Yvonne, and thank you, everyone, for being on today and listening to the presentation on Lappset. If you do have any questions, I'm going to get the answer to the ASTM question, and I will forward that to Martha, but please feel free to reach out to Martha with any questions, and we will look forward to working with you. And thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful Tuesday.